Hello and welcome to the preview show edition of the Blue Monday podcast, a 3 times weekly show looking into all things Ipswich Town. I'm your host, Richard Woodward, and this week I'm joined by not only the brilliant Harry from Bath, but the well-travelled championship blogger, Ipswich Town blogger extraordinaire, Mr. Benjamin Bloom. Gentlemen, who do I go to first? Let's go with Harry. I'll be loyal. I'll be loyal to my Thursday, mate. Harry, how's it going?
Good to see you, Rich. An eventful week, to say the least. Quick little 30 seconds to say that the Bristol City lot are suddenly getting very emotional again. I fear it'll end in tears, but they're living the dream once again, crashing into the playoffs. Everything's very exciting down in the West Country. But that aside, if from an Ipswich point of view, we have plenty to get our teeth into.
We have plenty to get our teeth into. And Ben, where have you been this week? I mean, you're the globetrotter now of the championship.
I am, but sometimes it's not football we have to talk about. And I was wandering around Griffin Park last night, and it's just sad because I saw this man and he just looked lost. And he was wandering around the stadium, this man with a lovely beard, and I don't quite know what to make of it.
I know where this is going. Go on.
No, I bumped into Harry outside.
Oh, there you go.
Last night.
I thought there was some kind of pub crawler going on.
I did go to Kew Gardens before. I did the most middle-class away day in the world, Richard. I went to Kew Gardens.
We like that on here.
Then went for an Italian, and then went to Brentford. It was a lovely day, Richard.
Oh well, that's a highbrow evening. You're on the highbrow podcast now. Is that a gin and tonic? No, it's not. No, it's not. Right. I mean, I've said we've got plenty to talk through. Shall we quickly? Let's get up to date, shall we? So let's talk Bolton very quickly. The Quana show. I call him Quana on this show. We're going to go with Quana tonight.
Right.
2 goals, and I'm in the school of thought for a long time that Quana's a spiky player and will have really good games and really meh games. And it looked like Bolton was one of those really good games. Harry, any thoughts on what you saw there? We haven't heard from you.
I just saw the highlight. Just watched found a couple of extended highlights clips which I was able to watch and followed it very closely on Twitter. I was in the shop on Saturday, and there was when we were 2-0 up, it was hilarious. The reaction, it was kind of everybody stay calm. 2-0. What madness is this? How have we ended up here? Great fun though. It looked like it was an absolutely brilliant day out. Quaner Mullet described him brilliantly. He sent me a text during the game. He said it was a bit like Daryl Murphy in slow motion, and that we'll come back to that when we talk on when we look at the Brentford game. Yeah. But the 2 goals, I mean, you'd question Brentford's defending, the sheer amount of time and space he had to be able to turn. It was a good finish, but the header was lovely. It was very deceptive the way it kind of, whether it was. It was intended, obviously, but he just cushioned it quite nicely. So it was good. It was great to see, a great morale booster for everybody, and really it was the one game we should win. My view is if we can overtake Bolton by the end of the season, I'd be really, really happy.
When we stopped recording, there was pretty much certainty that the game was going to go ahead, and then this IT issues kicked off as well. I mean, that was partly the reason why you didn't end up going, Ben, but I mean, you've spoken to Kieran Maguire a few times now. Has he got any thoughts about whether Bolton are going to see this one out?
Depends who comes in and buys them, Rich.
Because the new guy's he's not got a good reputation either, has he?
And apparently there's someone in the background as well. I mean, obviously, I hope no one gets liquidated, but it does seem it might be a bit of a case of out of the frying pan and into the fire if Mr. Bassini takes over. But they're giving him every chance, aren't they? Every single court hearing gets adjourned and pushed on. So
and EFL giving them money early as well. Do you see that?
Yes.
To get the game ahead.
And May the 8th is the next one. Yeah. We hope they sort themselves out. But this is a big problem. It's not just in the Championship. All the Premier League teams are losing money as well. Someone is going to get liquidated in the next 18 months. It's not going to be pretty, and owners need to just sort this out because everybody, literally, apart from like maybe Burton, everybody is overspending. Yeah,
I can off the top of my head, you've got Bolton and Bury. I think saw off some action in court today, or we're recording on Thursday today, and obviously Coventry City, local to me, they've got all kinds of off the field issues as well. It's not a pretty sight at the moment. And as you talked about on Sunday on the flagship show, that something's going to happen at some point. There will be a big name casualty, won't there? Let's bring things closer to date in terms of Brentford midweek. You were both there. Again, Mr. Quana or Air Quana. Is this the kind of tipping point of the game where, Ipswich, great build-up, lovely passing football that we've come accustomed to seeing now under Lambert, and Quana hits the post with this chance to dink over the keeper, and then a minute later, season summed up in a nutshell there. Mopé, I think, is scores the goal, and then a few minutes later, it's 2 after Flynn Downs' Gerrard-esque slip in midfield. Gents, you were both there. Who wants to go first on this one? Was this a case of Brentford's attacking options being too good for our defence? Ben, you talked about that on Sunday, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a season in microcosm, wasn't it? Someone makes a bad decision, whether that's a player, a manager, or an owner, as in Quana, to not stick his foot through it, or go round. He just had so much time; he should have scored. Lack of quality in both box and a individual mistake. That's the season. That 8 minutes in Brentford, and comically. You did a tweet today, Richard, the 18-19 season. Quana missed in the 18th minute and Mopé scored in the 19th. There you
go. Wow. Poetry. And Harry, what are your thoughts? So, one thing that I was going to call out, just to show balance to the people who tweet in and some of the opinions we've been hearing from people. Alan Judge, everyone really excited, quite rightly, about him signing that permanent deal, which obviously happened last week as well. But week after week now, we're starting to see these moments where there's a chance to get some end product, either a cross or a free kick, or last night a goal. Kind of the Red Sea parted for him, didn't it? And he had presented a sight of goal and couldn't get a shot on target. What was your take yesterday, and particularly on Alan Judge and how this run's going to go on for in terms of assists or goals or lack of?
Yeah, I'm rather playing him for his wider attacking play than for his finishing, to be honest, Rich. I think that's where he is of real benefit. And it was interesting. I think Ben picked up on it on his post-match video of the fact that certainly in the first quarter of the game before they scored, Judge was quite peripheral. He was out. I remember in my notes I wrote down Judge is not really getting in the game at all. And I think he did a switch with him and Bishop.
It was a messy formation to kick off with, wasn't it?
It was.
Watching it on the TV, I don't know what you guys saw in the ground.
It was 4-1-4-1 to begin with, and then he swapped Bishop and.
We had Dazelle out right wing, didn't you? I think they swapped.
He stayed there, Rich. He was. So it was. And they swapped about 20 minutes. So, do you know what? It's annoying because I noticed them swap, but because goals and big chances were happening, I didn't write down exactly when. So I don't know whether he moved in before. I just remember Ted Bishop being called over by Lambert, and he looked a little bit like, me? Where? Left? Okay, boss, away I go. But that definitely happened. Just quickly on Judge before we come back in. There was a real sense of someone trying too hard on his return to
you got a good ovation,
club last night as well.
Yeah. Couple of thoughts. Can I lob in? I thought the game itself was lost in the first 10 minutes when we actually didn't get in amongst their back three. One of the things they were saying, and Frank Lampard's derby, indeed, they actually got in amongst them early on. Their three centre backs are not quite together since they've lost Mepham and with Barbet out. That back line is not as strong as it could be. And I noticed in that first 10 minutes we were standing off them, we were letting them play the ball, knock it around at the back. You do that against a team like Brentford at your peril because they then establish a rhythm and they can start getting a tempo going, which is why after about 10 minutes you could see that they were whipping up, the machine was beginning, the whirligig was beginning to get going, and that's when they started to come after us. It meant they were more open, which is what led to Corner's chance, but then they had the rhythm, they had the tempo, they were getting the angles, they were getting the movements. I think it was Ben Rama, I felt for Inciala for that first goal. If looking back on it, I think that was he just literally slid past him.
A couple of times, I think.
He did that. He did that. Though Inciala generally did have a pretty decent game. That was the first issue. The second issue, which I picked up on, and you only see this when you're behind the goal. I tend not to be a behind the goal person, where I'd like to sit side on. But the one thing that we were lacking last night, and it did for us, was that we didn't really have much width. And whatever else about Brentford, they're predicated on width. You've got wingers who are playing as almost second strikers, and you've also got wing backs coming up. And there were time and time again, you had Benrahma, you had Watkins, you had Henry on one side, you had Odubajo on the other side, overloading the flanks. And it was, even if they weren't actually hurting us themselves, they were distorting our shape and then creating the gaps for in the centre. And the other thing, Mopé then was also dropping back deep. They were just distorting the angles of what was a fragile defence and an inexperienced midfield. That was our problem.
The second goal, there was a million players left over, weren't there? I mean, if Watkins doesn't score that, I mean, I think they had at least two players. It was just, you're right, they were totally stretching us all over the place. Ben, I wanted to get your thoughts because you've seen a lot of Championship football this season. Brentford, a really weird situation. Obviously, the departure of
Ben asked me to explain
Dean Smith.
Brentford. Right?
No, sorry.
No one can do that.
Please explain it, and then I'll get you to explain why we're going down as well in a bit. Dean Smith's departure and Frank's kind of took a bit of a while to get up to speed. But this is a team with attacking riches, isn't it? I mean, that position feels slightly weird that they're kind of lower mid-table, doesn't it?
Yeah, we can't explain it because all of the hippie advanced metrics say they should be about 5th or 6th, and it says that every season as well. This is not one season's worth of XG. But look, the style is risky. So, yes, you do create a whole load of chances. But as Harry says, often you got 3 centre-halves sitting there and literally everybody attacking. And come on, we talk about Birmingham City holding midfielders. We saw Romain Sawyers and Josh De Silva last night, who did just attacking as well from centre midfield. So, it's very interesting how they aren't higher than they maybe should be, but I just think it's down to a risk-averse style and very, very brave, but very open. In terms of their attacking players, just fascinating because on the surface, Mopé has got a chance in the Premier League, but when you drill right into it, and Joe said this, and Blades Analytic, when I did the interview with him, there's a big thought that this is an odd player that might fall into, and love him dearly, might fall into David Johnson territory of being a goal machine in the Championship.
Another one of these,
How many Premier League goals? Look, he was way too good for us, and when he took Chambers on one of the attacks, it was just zip straight past him. I think Benrahma's got a bit more of a chance. It's so difficult though, Rich, when you see these players, because I bet you several Brentford players would look amazing playing for Brentford, but not anybody else. They have to play in that system and that style with that sense of indulgence. So I'm not sure, but love Benrahma and Mopé. Yeah, I reckon top Championship team, but not sure Premier League yet.
Are they going to keep hold of Mopé, do you think?
I think they've got more chance of keeping Mopé than Benrahma, actually, strangely.
Yeah,
but we'll see how it goes.
Joe's point about he needs 4 shots to score a goal or whatever. There were some missed chances. There's some close chances last night, but
that's Brentford all over, though. They won't score the big chances, and they will score the 25-yarders, and a very, very odd team. Very odd.
Must be fun to watch.
Great to watch. Yeah, great to watch.
Exactly right. Well, let's bring things right up to date, shall we, and talk about another team that begin with B. There you go. I'm trying to find the links where I can. Tenure.
Three of them this week.
I hope you're taking notes, Ben, for the flagship, because this is how it's done. Birmingham City. So this is where I can slip into my Birmingham accent, my West Midlands accent, and also apologies in advance because probably Ben will do this as well. But Birmingham City, we call them Blues up here. So when I'm talking about Blues, I'm talking about Birmingham, not Ipswich, but you'll catch on, I'm sure. So Birmingham, another team with off the field stuff that is going on here, manifesting in this 9-point deduction, which actually I think when it kicked off in March probably knocked them quite a few places down the division, but actually they'd only be 14th now rather than 17th without it, so I don't think there would be any chance of playoffs there. And that points deduction coincided with a really terrible March. 5 defeats, including defeats to Villa and West Brom, which did not go down well up here either. But April is starting to turn a little bit. 2 games against tough opponents. Ben, you were at the Leeds game. A shock there, or maybe not, I guess. So we'll come on to the way they set up. And then last night, on Wednesday night, a draw to Sheffield United. the two things that I want to call out really, and I'll start, and then I'm just going to wind up Ben and Harry for those on the podcast, and then let them go today. Gary Monk and his very religious application of the 4-4-2, and we could have talked about this, I'm sure, in the first preview show earlier in the season for the 2-2 draw, Harry, because of the embargo. There's probably a core of maybe 13 or 14 squad players, and those are the ones that will play every week. They've got a few injuries recently, but generally it's the back four, and I think is pretty solid. Keeper as well. The front two, midfield probably is where there is the most variability at the moment. So, gents, where do you want to start? I'll come back to Che Adams as well, but where do you want to go?
Go for it.
Okay, let's start with an overview, and then we can jump in and around here. As you say, March was a month from hell. Fundamentally, they think they're safe. The wins over City, or over Leeds and Sheffield United, I should say, were absolutely that consolidated things. They felt, or the draw against Sheffield United, I should say, they felt that took the pressure off them. The remaining games, interestingly, Eric, they've got Rotherham, Wigan, and Reading as well as us, so they really feel their destinies in their own hands.
Yep.
Even draws, even against draws, exactly that. Yeah, we'll not go down, no chance. We're more likely to ascend the table. But they did say, and this is interesting, this will come back to the style of football. What is a bit worrying is how we usually do against teams we really should be beating. And I wonder, we'll come on and talk about their tactical model. There is a lot of counter-attack in the way that they play. They don't have a lot of creativity in midfield, so that means they seem to, from what the fans are saying, they seem to go quite direct, which may have worked, certainly against Leeds. They described their goal against Leeds as the first half was Leeds was us to a T. Soak it up, hit them on the break with a lovely multi-pass move for a superbly taken goal. Now, if you're going out and playing Rotherham, who are sitting back and defending, that's probably not how Ben recalls the goal. But anyway, this is a Birmingham perspective. When they're playing Rotherham, who might be happy to sit in, sort of man the trenches and then try and mug a late goal against them.
Bolton
they might
beat them at St Andrews, Harry.
Yeah, exactly. This is so there is that kind of curiosity in terms of their style. They did feel, though, very reassured by what happened. In overall terms, the season has been about avoiding a relegation battle. They knew they were hamstrung transfer-wise. They brought in one winger he was a free agent in January. Marabti, I think is his name, from Sweden. But otherwise they've pretty much got this small core of people, and they are exhausted. That's the thing they're saying. And when you're exhausted, you're bringing players back just from injury. Also, then you're having to play players who are, as you say, just coming through injury. And then when you lose players, you just don't have the chess pieces to move around. Yeah,
Ben, you're the last person out of us to see them. What are your thoughts on them? This 4-4-2, this way of playing, is that chiming with what you've seen?
Yeah, absolutely right. I think they're a good team. Got no problem with the tactics at all. It's not exactly Rotherham or Bolton. It is direct, but in some ways, our previous manager would love their back four. We know exactly what they're going to do. And look, they've got one very good target man and one brilliant striker at playing off a target man, and a couple of tricky wide players. We know that we can tell you that exactly what's going to happen. We can tell you what most of the team's going to be, barring the centre midfield, one or two. The back four are going to sit there. The two are going to sit there. It'll be direct, free kicks even around the halfway. But I promise you, this is not Rotherham. They've got better players than Rotherham, and obviously very, very good strikers. In that West Brom game, interestingly, Rich, as well, where they did lose, they were good as well. And that was a typical West Brom game where West Brom's excellent ex-Premier League players bailed their lack of strategy and lack of tactics out. And as we've said over and over again this year, and banging our heads against the wall as Ipswich fans, they're a team with strategy, and most of the teams in the Championship don't have a strategy that's older than 6 or 7 months, because they all fire, and therefore it works. So you really do only need 2 years worth of work, and you'll be one of the better strategizing teams in the Championship. Just sometimes you can't get over the financial humps. But that would be my read. I'm really impressed with and also you joke about Gary Monk, but in some ways he's reinvented himself, because he was Swansea and he was tiki taka and pity patter and possession, and he's realised I'm embargoed. I've got these players. This is how I'm going to play, and he's stuck to it. And I quite admire that.
I guess I need to clarify that. I guess the point isn't a criticism at all. I think, if anything, it's probably the more evolved version of maybe McCarthy when he, after 1 or 2 seasons with us, and that squad is really. I mean, there are players in that back four, as you say, would walk into our team right now, wouldn't they?
Rich, can I just come in on that? And the difference between them and McCarthy's team is, one, they don't just play anybody out wide, and they've actually got good wide players, so they've got threat from down there, and the other is there's actually 2 people contributing up front rather than all relying on one. So you make a really good parallel, and I can tell you why. Look, obviously someone will turn around and say, but McCarthy's team finished 6th and this one will not. I'm just talking in terms of my aesthetic pleasure, not being a Birmingham fan, of watching it.
Harry, where should we start? I mean,
quickly, can I just a couple of things on the formation and on Monk? One other thing about Monk, he has done a bit of a Lambert there in reconnecting the fans with the club. You've got to remember that
after the Raul Zola stuff,
exactly that. You know, they had one owner who they finally got rid of, Carson Young, and then suddenly you've got Rowett. You know, you've all of that. There was a huge sense of a disconnect. The fans really had lost faith in the club, and the way they were talking about Monk rebuilding that relationship, it's exactly the same blueprint that Lambert has done at Portman Road. No question at all about that. And just to echo what Ben was saying, they do see themselves as a mid-table team. We were never good enough for the top 6. That's why we never really got in there. We have a mid-table squad all day long. Anyone who thought we'd be in the playoffs is deluded. So, you know, Ben said absolutely spot on that they're not a Rotherham, but just as equally, they're not a top 6 team either. They're rock solid mid-table. Given their circumstances, that is an achievement, and they're pretty sanguine about that.
Sure, I mean, we can waltz through the back 5 really quickly. So it'll be Lee Camp in goal, Colin, Morrison, Dean, and Pedersen, won't it?
Unless, just really quickly, unless Max Colin played centre mid in France before he went to Brentford, and they're light in centre mid, so you could see possibly Davis and Colin with Harding
dropping in at right.
I think the back 5 you just said, Rich, and I think you might get a Gardner sandwich in midfield.
Well, the midfield, Harry, you're going to talk about the midfield because there's issues.
We will do that. That's a real issue. One quick caveat, Ben. I'll mention this as well because we saw it last night. Brentford brought on was this Michael Force, I think, was it Marcus Force. He had
the force be with you.
Exactly. We've spotted that clubs are doing this against us. They're thinking, so it's Ipswich. If we can try a prospect out, we are the ultimate low risk bet. So you might suddenly see some 17-year-old who nobody knows anything about.
Yeah.
This has been happening lately. It has happened.
It's true.
When Force came on against Brentford, I went, oh, here we go again. I knew it was going to happen.
Batty for Hull as well. You know,
exactly. Yeah. You know, we are that low risk bet. Some really just quick one-liners on the defence, just to fill you in. Lee Camp, there is an issue. They describe it, his lettuce leaf wrists is how they describe them. There seems to be an issue with shot stopping, which they picked up on, where he kind of goes for the ball. One of them said he doesn't dive. Instead, he falls in the direction of the ball with no spring or conviction. I'm just putting it out there. They said they feel in an ordinary season, there is an upgrade to be done there, and he is very much a bench option. He's 34 now.
Harry, can I just quickly come in on Camp really quickly? Sorry, Rich.
Go on.
We won't go too long. He's protected in the same way that Białkowski was under McCarthy. So the strategy works for Camp.
Yeah. And quickly with Morrison and Dean. Morrison.
Sorry, Harry. I'm going to slow us all down because I'm trying to get us through this, guys. Morrison and Dean. I'm pretty certain. Going back to the previous show in September, we said you'll struggle to find a better centre back pairing than those two in this division.
Yeah.
Is that still true?
It's still true. It's that old thing again, where possible. Ben and I've talked about this before. That sense of the 4-4-2 being 5 sets of partnerships: centre back, centre mids, 2 strikers, and then the 2 wide guys. And again, the old covalent bonds thing. Just how are they set up to work as a unit? You look at them as a combined unit. And Morrison and Dean, just as when we come to the strikers, it's really well balanced.
And Dean Harry, quickly, sorry. Mark Roberts, good player, can't get in the team as well.
No,
He's getting
he can't. No.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, he would. No, he would do. I think he did struggle under previous regimes, but they've credited Monk with bringing him back. One of them, Rich and I joked about this back in the autumn. One of them described him as Mark Danger UXB Roberts. I think he had a confidence issue, and he's had some injuries. But you're right. But Morrison, he's more physical. He is a threat. He's their third highest goal scorer. He is the set piece threat, and particularly with Mahoney providing a good range of set pieces in. They think they found a really good set piece taker, and I think they didn't clear a set piece that was against. It was against Sheffield United. They didn't deal with it effectively, and Morrison was then able to capitalise on that. He's a bit of a box predator, like a touch of Aidan Flint about him. Tommy Smith, exactly. Yeah, he can. Few question marks. Sometimes he can react too slow for tackles, misjudge the flight of the ball. It's the classic champion. If he didn't have those slight chinks in his armour, he'd be in the Premier League kind of thing. But and not necessarily comfortable on the ball, which is where Dean complements him. Dean is better at bringing it out. Dean has been playing through a groin injury though, and therefore the Birmingham fans have noticed he's playing slightly within himself. So he's less of a marauding centre back, a la Richard Keogh, but he's more of a meandering centre back, as it were. So he will bring the ball out, but not necessarily with the same purpose or intent.
So you might see some rotation there. Just very quickly on the finishing on the back five fullbacks. I don't know who to go to. I'll go with Ben because Harry's just spoken. How far up will the fullbacks push, or they will stay as their four?
Not very. I think this is more Jose Mourinho than Slavica Jokanovic. It'll be the much mentioned Pedersen, and either Colin will play right back or Harden will play right back. Also, look out for a big booming Wayne Brown style diagonal ball from Harley Dean over to Magoma or Mahoney, whichever side those two set up.
Yeah.
Where to next, Harry?
Just quickly, Colin, little echo of Brentford about him in that he is that sort of Brentford model of fullback. He's technically very, very comfortable, basically. And when they really get the upper hand, but they said only when they get the upper hand, will he then move forward? But he does tend to. He's comfortable. He doesn't really have that huge amount of pace, so they wouldn't see him necessarily as a wing back. Pedersen is a little bit of a bomb scare. They do talk about him diving in, giving away stupid free kicks, and he can be rash in his decision making. But that's the amber light with him.
Should Harding play? Sorry, was Pedersen the cause for the 9 points?
Yeah, he came from Union Berlin in the summer. Yeah,
the EFL let them off that one because they were basically complicit in registering.
Of course, they allowed them to do it.
Yeah, so they allowed it to happen. So it was 7 points for breaking FFP, as in when Redknapp and Zola were there. 3 points for a flagrant breach, as in taking the mick and spent signing Hotter and Stockdale on 30 grand a week. And then they got 1 point back for cooperating with the inquiry. So as much as people say Pedersen broke the embargo, no.
There we go.
Yeah, spot on.
Happy to be correct.
It was something like a £40-odd million loss though they racked up. It's funny.
In one season.
Yeah.
Insanity.
Yeah, it was a trolley dash. It was even at the end, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, it was a load of Brentford players, wasn't it?
It was done at the end of August 2017. Yeah, it was. It was.
Harry panicked. Harry got on his window, his car.
Harry got it, exactly, absolutely.
Bare bones. We're the bare bones. Let's go into midfield, Harry, shall we? This is
just a quick one-liner on Wes Harding because he may well feature. They do like him. He's raw, 22-year-old youth product who's come through. He's been playing him as right back. Ultimately, they think he will be a centre back. They think he's quite a bit of a unit. There's a kind of possibly a slight Tyrone Mings sense about him that he's starting in a fullback role where he has some athleticism. But they ultimately think as he grows in physicality, they can see him. They see him as quite a strong leader. A little bit of bias because he's a youth product. We all like our own players coming through. He's raw, but technically he isn't strong to pick a pass out yet. But he is. They describe him. He's an absolute unit, is how they put him. Just to mention him, he might again if Cullen moves into midfield, Harding could drop in at right back. So midfield is the problem. I think if they've got
isn't it?
It's just the fact that it's like Guinevere, there's only 3 balls in the machine for them to actually pick. That's how I'd put it. They've got real problems in terms of one of them said that their midfielders, they're all water carriers, is how they described them. And losing Keefton Belt, who they felt had blossomed as the season had gone. He's got, as Ben said, he's got a serious knee injury. He was a sitter, but he was adding to his game. They said that Monk was bringing out a more dynamic passing side to him because
he was a sitter, except when Jack Grealish was around, in which case he would clatter into him within 30 seconds of any game starting. Yeah.
Yes, he's done that twice now, hasn't he?
Calling card.
The Gardner brothers you mentioned there, Ben, at the start. I think they're probably archetypal kind of water carry midfielders, aren't they? Is there a chance that we might see them? Do you think Davis played there?
I think Davis will play, and it'd probably be Davis and Gary Gardner. I would have thought. Yeah,
Craig's been off the bench mostly, isn't he? Yeah. But that's a weird situation. Two ex-Villa midfielders playing for Blues. Is
one on loan as well.
Yeah, and Davis is a Wolves player back in the day as well. So they're keeping it local. What to say, Davis? The other question mark with Davis is, I mean, you're really describing all three together. Gary, I should say, possibly the slightly better passer of the two, but he does run out of steam, is the one question mark they've been saying. And they felt as well he's receded as the season has gone on. The issue with Davis is he's another player who has come back from injury, and he had an ankle injury. So should he be playing a full match? But they feel he's absolutely cooked. Birmingham could struggle as the game goes on Saturday, particularly having had a midweek game on a Wednesday. They could run out of legs as the game goes on. But none of them they're all praised for their industry and work rate, but they lack a pass.
Harry, one name. I've got the team here from the 2-2 draw in September. What's happened to Charlie Lakin? He played in that game, and I'm not sure he's featured too much since. Apologies if I'm springing something on you.
No, you haven't. No, he hasn't. He hasn't played in any of the last 9 games. He was heavily. I remember when we did the preview show back in the autumn, they felt it was a bit too soon for him. He just wasn't ready yet to come through. So I think Monk may have just taken the decision. They talk about bringing him into the team. When they say, "Oh, we must have somebody else. Surely it can't be Craig Gardner coming off the bench." They joke about Craig Gardner. One of them said it took him 5 minutes to get his yellow card this week. He's slowing down. They really think, and that sort of thing. They go, surely Charlie Lakin would be better. But again, the championship,
is a championship Gareth Barry, isn't he?
Exactly that. Actually,
if you were to do a championship, sorry to lower the tone, shithouse 11, Craig Gardner might even be your captain.
Yeah. Exactly. Other than fouling, he's done very little. Another quote.
He used to be really good. He used to score long. I think Gary's got a few of these in his locker as well. But Craig Gardner used to score long ranges every other week for Villa. Back in the noughties, anyways. It's sad to see him as a bench option.
No, every time he comes in, you can guarantee 3 things: a foul, a card, and a miss in front of goal. But
he will do a brilliant tactical foul and get away with it as well, and it's just funny to watch sometimes.
Yeah, he'll kill a game. No, exactly that. He's good that way. I don't think we're going to see Lakin, particularly in the 2-man midfield. But then again, they're playing Ipswich. We could be the team where they kind of let's give somebody a run out. That seems to be that's our destiny this season.
So the 3 into 2 in terms of the wide positions do we think is Jota out? Is Jota injured, or because that's the name that people will
see Mick McCarthy and Bersant Salina.
Yes.
Okay.
Brilliant, Ben. Brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can't be trusted. Is that the situation?
Yeah.
That's it. He won't work in. Well, I think I don't think it's just him, Rich. I think it's him and Magoma. Magoma is less of a risk, but still has that good dribbling skill and whatnot. Whereas the two of them, and I saw Birmingham play at our dear friends Norwich, where they sat back and Norwich just ripped them a new one when they had those two guys playing. Playing wide.
Harry, should we talk through these guys? Because Jota's the name that people will know. Again, Harry Redknapp signing Brentford. Magoma's familiar to us as well.
Yeah. I think I did the wingers I think Jota will come off the bench. He'll have that. He'll probably start now. But no, it's the reason that's what he has been doing in so many recent games. I think it's something like, let me just count them up here. It's sub. He started the Aston Villa game, but the other. In the last 8, he's come off the bench in 5 of them, and he's started 1. So that gives you an idea. They they think that actually he's not suited to the formation of the team. He's playing for the wrong team. Some of them have said he'd be better playing for someone like Leeds. It'd be interesting to get your take on this, Ben. They think he's a good player.
Totally agree.
So, yeah, he's when he's confident in running with the ball, he knits the play between midfield and attack better than anyone else. When they need to go narrow to shore up, to tighten things up, him and Macoma, they can do it naturally. But the problem is that it actually unbalances the type of team that, if you're playing on the counter, you're looking to go wide. He's not that type of player.
Great player.
No, absolutely brilliant player, but just not in the right team.
He's got a set piece on him as well, hasn't he? Jota, am I right?
He does. But the bizarre thing, one of them said that Monk has always liked Spanish flair players in his teams, and therefore you'd expect him to be someone to build a team around, which goes back to what you were saying earlier, Ben, about the fact that in a team, if it was Swansea or if it was somewhere else, you could possibly see Jota actually having a really good role to play. I don't know whether you'd agree with that or not, but it's just the wrong team. A riddle wrapped in an enigma is how they describe him. On his day, he's unplayable, but it's a rarity. They love his delicate skills. Don't seem to be quite the ticket at the moment.
Championship
and
winger.
Yeah, exactly. He's a misfit basically. Mahoney, though, on the right wing, he has come through. He's a Bournemouth loan signing. He played for on loan for a period at Barnsley last season, but he's really blossomed as the season's gone on. Raw, he's only 22. He's dangerous going forward. Some of his decision making, I think he made a rash tackle against West Brom, if memory serves me right, to concede a penalty. But so he has, he has elements of he's what's the word? He's unpolished. But his set pieces is something there was a discussion, why has Monk not seen this earlier? They think he's a really, really good set piece taker as well. But he's dangerous going forward. And they think they might get him again next season, with Bournemouth being in the Premier League, because he's not ready. He's not Premier League ready yet, but a second season in the Championship might work really, really well for him. But you've got pace, you've got somebody who's direct. They say he makes things happen, but obviously his decision making, there is a work in progress element to him. Does that chime with you, what you've seen, Ben?
Yeah, just wanted to add, it's inverse wingers as well. So Mahoney's very left-footed and comes in off the right, and you saw that comical thing. It was Connor Townsend, West Bromwich, where he's showing him. He's so eager to show him on the outside that in the end he's like, okay, fine, I'll go on the outside. But expect the idea is not for them to hug the touchline, because they're not going to get any support from midfield with these centre mid from these quick attacks. The idea is they get the ball to them quickly, and inside they come and support.
Magoma's the one that I kind of think of doing that. I think he's done that against us a few times. I think he won the penalty a couple of seasons ago. Was it last season? Should we talk about Magoma now? Because for me, he's a bit more of a presence. Very direct running is what I would attribute him with. Gents, agree with that, or any other thoughts on Magoma?
He just strikes me as this very 6 out of 10 Championship winger, Magoma. If you know what I mean, there are others who you would say have another level, but given what we've said, Jota is more talented. But who's in the team, Rich?
Harry.
I just want to say I've never seen a winger so split a message board as Macoma. It's unreal. It's almost like there's two different players. You've got comments. You build. Good point, actually. Yeah, good point. It's unreal. It's you get a consensus sometimes building on a message board. We say, well, in the round, the weight of opinion goes in one direction. With this guy, you've got constantly, completely contradictory and conflicting comments all the way through the thing. He always puts in a shift, wins loads of challenges, and does the dirty work well. Don't get me started. He's been absolutely useless for weeks. A waste of a position. He rarely takes his man on. Always looks to lay the ball off. And then you get, I like watching him in full flight, running at defences. He spends most of each game looking to avoid wanting the ball, rarely taking on his man. I just don't know what to make of this. I've just, when I was doing up the notes for TWTD, I just said, he divides opinion. So, I mean, I rate him. I remember, did he win a penalty against us a couple of years ago?
Yeah, it was a little bit divey, but it was just about acceptable.
Yeah, we were cross with him. I remember that. But I think he's a really, as Ben says, absolutely, he's a decent Championship winger. Mm-hmm. He does his job. He does, he really does do what it says on the tin in that sense. I think he's also a player who will fit in with the model of how the team is playing, which is possibly why he's in ahead of Jota as well. But an interesting one. I've never seen a player so divide a message
Colin
board.
Kwana.
Well,
actually, the name that I was thinking about was Jermaine Wright, but that's probably me and my old man.
Wow.
We used to go.
Again, briefly in the spirit of other players who might come in.
I always love the secret Harry, out of the big name.
Kareem Marabti. This is not a big name, but this guy, we don't have it. They're at anywhere are they now? It's because they've just got no players. Ben, Rich and I
well, the one that I picked out was is Kushak still there?
Kushak. No, Kushak is still
there.
There's three of them. It's two of them. Kushak and Stockdale don't have squad numbers. There are two actually. I apologise, but I don't know what's going on that they're not. They've just been completely bombed out of the setup there. But let me tell you,
Harry, that's minimising payments on them.
Stockdale's on big money, isn't he?
Yes.
Stockdale turned down a contract with Brighton, I think, didn't he, to go to Birmingham?
Stockdale's on 30 grand a week, Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get $3 for that.
Well, let me tell you, Kareem Marabti, who has come in, the winger, they think he might ultimately be a number 10. He has been coming on off the bench, I think, as he's been coming on out wide. They like him. He's a nice, tidy player, 24, Sweden international, actually, and they think he's one for next season. So, if Jota was going to go, they could see him possibly pushing through. He can pass the ball, good with nice little one-touch flick-ons. You have to mention these guys because they could well turn up against us. Quick, busy, positive, puts a proper shift in. A tidy player who's comfortable on the ball. They don't think he's a winger, though. They think ultimately, because of his propensity to play centrally, which fits in with Monk's way of playing, they think he could be another number 10 who can play out wide, or as a wide forward in the front three, as we saw with Brentford. He could play that type of role. He seems to prefer laying the ball off or cutting inside. But that again could be the tactical model. Keep an eye out for him. He's a prospect. He's new to the team. Came in January. Obviously, he fitted in within their financial constraints. So, but he's the one player that they have added, worth mentioning. Which then takes us to the strikers.
Yeah, well, it's worth calling out at this point that our leading scorer has 6 goals and is injured at the moment. Is that right, Ben? I'm trying to remember back to Sunday. Freddie's there. So
the same number as Michael Morrison. Go on, yeah.
Bloody hell. Che Adams, 21 goals in 39 games. Lucas Jukovic,
yes.
ex-Coventry City, 11 goals in 41. We've talked about the kind of target man versus the guy off the shoulder. It's a great season for Che Adams. Here's some local trivia for you. The first Blues striker to score over 20 goals in a season since Steve Claridge in 1994-1995, a season that we all remember for Ipswich very fondly. But so 2 decades since someone's managed that, and it feels like that's a good partnership though together. Che Adams is getting the headlines, but Jukovic is someone that we were linked with when he was at Burnley. I think he had we were possibly in with him with Birmingham, and he went there. But this is a great Che Adams. Ben, was he anywhere near your Championship Team of the Year?
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah, definitely. No, he wasn't in it.
But he was close.
He was very near to it. So yeah, you're totally right, Rich. You nailed it. So it's the partnership that is the dangerous thing. Adams is a great player, but so Jukovic is the out ball, and he's very good in the air, but he's a little bit slow, not very mobile, not the best finisher. And then Adams is all of the things that Jukovic is not very good at. And guys, I listen to your show every week, and you tell me what's going to happen. Most of Che Adams' goals are he'll get the ball in, 15 to 22 yards from goal. He'll take one touch to put it on his right foot, and he'll hit the ball very low and very hard into one of the corners every time.
Was that the Leeds goal?
Is brilliant at that. Yeah, he did exactly the same. Yeah. Just look at most of his goals. He's
it's like an early
Kevin
Waghorn.
Phillips used to do this, where exactly, where before the keeper knows where it's going, but it's right. Adams has got the ball, gone, goal. It's going in the corner. So very, very good player. And you're talking about Mopai.
I was going to say, who's got the chance to go up?
I'll probably get pelters for this, but in terms of a bespoke player, he's about the same age, aren't they? Both about 22, aren't they?
22, both 22.
I just think there's a job in the Premier League for a young English, powerful finisher like that, more than a slightly, can I say, peppery Frenchman?
Yeah.
Possibly, I could be wrong about that.
Well,
but
let's look at the Bath jury on the use of the word peppery there.
No,
Harry,
it's totally allowed.
Looking at you like a cold spring on this one, so come and tell us about it.
It's could not agree more with Ben. He has nailed it so fundamentally in terms of Adams. He is Premiership. He's that type of player. You could see someone like a Burnley, someone like a Leicester. You could see it's just a natural augmentation. It's such a natural step. Maupay, you're kind of going, ooh, I'm not so sure. I'm really, it's just in terms of suitability for that, for the type of football that gets played there. It's now Ben, you absolutely totally agree with you. Totally agree. What other stuff have I picked up from them? He has definitely. Sometimes you get a striker who gets to a certain level. Will they push on? Boy, has he pushed on this season. One of the things they have talked about is that he's added athleticism and physicality. He's bulked up, basically. One of them compared him to, they said he was a bit like the Hulk in a Blues shirt. He's able to. They said that this sums him up. This lovely phrase. They said the little back heels he makes, the way he shoves 6'4" defenders out of the way to hold up the ball, and his pace. Add to that then the quality of his finishing. They say keepers cover the near post and he will go across them the other way. His shooting, his finishing is to X number of decimal places. He has got that. He's got quality basically in front of goal. Not only is he cold, but he can actually finish, which again would suggest that the Premier League could be a possibility. I don't know why. I know it was a different position, but there was an echo of Nathan Redmond about him, because I know ultimately he was, I think, way back a Blues player, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But there's the way they were describing Adams pushing into the Premier League. It kind of made me feel a bit like, now Redmond, as I say, is a wider player, but again, a player who added some athleticism and pace, and he added a dimension to his game, which then facilitated a move so that he was able to be a good Premier League squad player. You can see Adams doing the same thing. One of the other things they picked up on was the fact that he hits the ball early. They like that. They can see him. He sometimes, when he gets there, he will fire off more quickly, which obviously makes the goal really it makes his target bigger, early and accurate, especially from the right channel, which is an echo of what Ben was saying. Yeah, he's all his pre-season hard work has paid off.
I have a really annoying prediction to make, and you've mentioned Nathan Redmond, who went to Norwich. It just feels to me like the type of signing that a promoted Norwich team would make, because he won't be big money. Jordan Rhodes is not going to score goals in the Premier League. That is a mathematical certainty, because he's got that buffer thing that Earnshaw and all those lot had, Nugent. It feels to me like a good stepping stone, and if he does well at Norwich with Pookie maybe, and if Norwich go back down, it's the stepping stone to get him there. But maybe he's a Leicester kind of Burnley. But that was coming to me.
Southampton is the one. I think it was a 12 million bid, but I think they can get 15 million for him in
like a mid-teen
June, July.
And they'll need the money though, won't they, as well?
I have seen bigger numbers mentioned on their forums, I can tell you that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. 30 million, Harry. No danger. One player that we need to talk about, who's not getting applauded, who actually 2 of his 11 goals were scored against us. Lucas Jutkiewicz. Anything to add more on him, Harry?
No. He's got nearly as many assists as he has goals. Bear that in mind. He might not score, but my God, he does some work for the team. They say he's quite streaky, actually. I think we set him off on a streak. He scores
one-match streak, maybe.
Possibly, but he'll have a run of a few, and then he goes quiet. They love him. Not a prolific finisher, a warrior and a City player, and a proper City player. He gives you a fighting chance of winning and holding it up when it's hoofed up. Let him batter the defence for an hour first is one of the other things they say. And again, for that sort of type of team, again, he can relieve pressure off the defence. Classic.
Can I just mention something quickly? I saw Pontus Jansson do this, and I know Pontus Jansson's very good. But work with me on this, Rich. So Jutkiewicz would come short for all the goal kicks, and Jansson would just charge at him, and just, even if he wasn't going to head the ball, he would contest it. Which reminds me of the way that Toto Nsiala does like to play sometimes, where he'll play on the front foot and kind of charge out. And I think that's the way you got to play Jutkiewicz. If you kind of stand back and let him back into you like Joe Garner would try and do, I think. So I do think, particularly from goal kicks and long free kicks, I do think I thought Jansson played him quite well, sort of on the front foot,
because he can bring it down, can't he, Jutkiewicz, as well. He's not all about because he's good in the air. He's a good header of the ball, probably one of the better headers in the Championship, actually.
Very good.
But actually good feet as well, and it's a really good blend.
Rich, if you look at the stats, it's miles ahead, and this goes to show how important he is to Birmingham. But I think I'm making numbers up, but I think he's on like 11 aerials a game on who scored, and then the next nearest one that's not a centre half is like 7 or something.
Yeah,
so he's noticeably that is the tactic.
Yeah.
So, barring kind of the rotation stuff that we talked about, or someone getting cramp on the bus down the A14, it'll be those two. The one name that I'd lob into the mix, Harry, because I'm going to steal your thunder possibly. Isaac Vassell, anything to add on?
Isaac Vassell? Come on 78 minutes. And then Adam scores a hat trick, in which case he'll come off after Adam scores his third goal.
It's he was. I mean, ex-Luton. He's picked up a serious knee injury, and he had a subsequent hip injury. He's in November. He lost all of October the 17-18 season. He lost it with this. It was, I think he ruptured one of his cruciate ligaments. What did they say about him? He's coming back. They think he's a prospect for next season, the classic bench option. He has come off the bench a few times. I think the last game was against West Brom, which you'll have seen, Ben. He obvious replacement for Adams if we don't go and sign someone, is what they say. And it's all about pace with him at the moment. That's the thing he has got, but obviously other bits need to be added to that. But with decent balls for players to run onto and stretch teams, we will see whether Vassell can be a threat in this division next year. I think there is a feeling, it's not a criticism of Jutkiewicz, but there is that habit when you have a big man up front of just launching it long to him to hold up. I mean, this has happened before when Matt Smith used to come on for Queen's Park Rangers or Fulham. Matt Smith's up there, so there was almost a reflex from the guys at the back just to hoof it up to them. They would like to see Vassell and Adams play a bit more, because that's where you can actually try and get in behind defences. But I don't think it'll happen. I think when you've got a model, if Plan A is working, you don't mess around with it. But he is a real bench option. So, given that teams like to try players out against us, I'd say he will feature at some point. Yeah.
But that's it in terms of the striking options.
That's it.
So it is about that core sort of 14, 15. Anything else to add there, gents? I mean, we've done really well there, I think. We haven't got a question on this, so I'll ask both of you. Any thoughts on how the hell this game is going to go? It's a really weird one to kind of pick, isn't it? Because Brentford wasn't a great performance. Let's not hide behind that. It's pretty inevitable that the relegation will be confirmed. Do we go for it and probably get picked off, maybe? Or what do we try and do? Do we compete in this one, Ben?
Rich, my line I used when I saw Leeds Birmingham is that Birmingham laid a very, very straightforward trap for Leeds, and they just walked straight blindly into it. Only though because Bamford missed a whole load of chances in that game. And I think Harry's mentioned it. Birmingham would prefer a team to push onto them, and there's this kind of thing of counter-attack. So they might get a bit confused with the amount of... They'll quite happily only make 120 passes in the whole game. They're not bothered about having the ball. It's just how many times they get it to Jutkiewicz, how early, and in what decent... It depends how you play Jutkiewicz, and do you actually sit off in midfield and say to what is Davis and Gary Gardner, come on then, come out a little bit. I kind of share your confusion as to how it will go. Ipswich have been a little bit naive though in some of these games where we've got the ball, haven't we, Neil Harris? We've got the ball, bang, bang, bang. So maybe you'll see Ipswich possibly have a good amount of possession in the first 30 or 40 minutes, but it's hard for me to see. I agree with you. The relegation will happen because that means Ipswich not winning. So you could get another 1-1 draw. You could get a Birmingham win. I don't see Birmingham losing.
No, Harry, to me it feels like it could follow a similar pattern to Brentford, actually, for me. Like we could possibly have a lot of the ball, maybe have a few chances, but I don't know. I can see us falling exactly into that trap. I could see us passing the ball, the triangles that we're starting to see, and then get picked off by Che Adams' shot, or a set piece that NCR gives away a dumb free kick and Cross comes in and Jutkiewicz scores a header. Do you know what I mean? It could be a really crappy game. What's our best chance, Harry?
I don't know. You could say you just mark down a goal for Adams and say, right, that's just park that, and that's a bit like when Nugent used to come. But there again, you look at their midfield, and we have got a little bit of geometry in the middle of the field. It depends which Ipswich turns up to some degree as well. The team that has picked up a lot of fairly decent 1-1 draws against top 6, top 8, top 10 teams, or the team that turned up against Brentford, because they looked weary on Wednesday night, and they looked also when Brentford got about them, you could see the confidence beginning to crack a little bit. You felt for them. I did feel for them,
particularly in Chalobah.
Yeah.
I think his confidence got shot in that game, didn't it?
I was thinking that Chalobah might end up there next season on loan. Any thoughts?
It's a good move for him, actually. Yeah.
It would be. That would make
Harry,
sense. He would balance that team brilliantly. He really would. But you see, I think in that sense we could, if we're controlled, and it is at home as well. I shouldn't count too much on that. But I feel more 1-1 than 0-2, because most of our games are either 1-1 or 0-2. Let's be honest. So I could see us getting. I think we've enough about us to get at their midfield and to give us a foothold in the game. But if they score first, then we know what they're going to do. They're going to sit back and say, right, come along. We've got the back four and the two sitting in front. Come back onto us, and then they're just going to. They did that to Bristol City. I think they beat them 2-1, and it was painful to watch. Literally, you could see it was almost when they won possession, it was like a starting gun, and then suddenly there were four of them blitzing down the field with the ball. I don't know. I'm more optimistic on this one. I think we will bounce back from Brentford. I can see us getting a draw. Don't know.
My glass is half empty. I'm predicting a carbon copy of Hull. So there you go. Let's just end with a couple of bits more on Birmingham. Firstly, I want to point out some shirts. I've got the promotion, the 99,000 shirt. We didn't beat them at home. We lost in a really crappy Trevor Francis 1-0 at home in the league. But this is the season after where we.
Paul Furlong penalty.
I think it was. Yes, it was. Stan Lazaridis dived. I think.
Yes.
This is where we. So the League Cup semi-final, we actually beat Birmingham in the first leg. Marcus Stewart, I think, missed a penalty, possibly, or scored a penalty. One or the other. And then obviously we got destroyed in a really nasty second leg. And this one is the 14-15 shirt where we beat Birmingham with the Renegade Statman special of a 4-2. We need to win a home game by 3 goals or more, because we have a long-standing record that Statman will keep tweeting about. I don't think we've gone through a season without scoring less than 2 goals.
So we could lose 5-3. And that's
fine,
be okay.
As long as we score 3 goals. We haven't. We need to score 3 goals in a match before the end of the season. Go down in a
blaze of glory.
But they would be typical of this season if we didn't. Let's talk through this Darrell's team, and we'll talk you through this, Ben, because we've rather cruelly not given it to you in advance. In goal, no issues here. One of the goalkeepers on the bench hasn't got a squad number in David Stockdale, but Harry, no diggity, no doubt about the main man in goal.
Cooper.
Yeah. Paul Cooper.
Yeah, that's easy.
We're doing a 4-4-2 in honour of Gary Monk. I think he's gone for left back, Andy Legg.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He of the long throws, I think.
That's him. Yeah, that's right. I think he played for. I think did he come on loan to us from Birmingham?
Cardiff,
actually,
I think.
Came on loan.
Cardiff.
In the season David Johnson's side, 97-98.
That's right. Yeah.
And never did his long throw. George Burley was like, "Nope, not on my watch." Or maybe he did it once.
Burley said, "What are you doing?" Now a summariser for us when we play in the West Country, I think, Harry, or in Wales.
Yes.
You're after his job, really, Harry?
I don't think so. No way. Oh dear. It's who else is this? In the back line, you've got the centre backs Ian Atkins and Alex Bruce. Let's be honest, there are no defenders. We've only got 4 defenders here, so we've got to make up a back 4 out of 4 defenders, and then we've put Tommy Carroll, who is of older vintage.
You're going to have to help us out here.
Yeah, we put him in at right back. He's I'm not quite sure whether he was a centre back or a full back.
Don't get this wrong.
No, do not get this wrong.
My Twitter exposed, yeah.
No, exactly. No, it was every piece of research I did suggested he was a defender. That's all I could get.
He's in the wing half position. That's what we would say.
Possibly wing half. Who knows? Yeah, but he obviously he played for a 66-71, and then he went to Birmingham thereafter. But Ian Atkins and Bruce Bristol.
He's got Bristol vintage, isn't he?
Yeah, he does actually as well. Yeah, I think
his face is painted on the. Anyway, let's skip through these. The midfield is pretty recent. Clapham presumably on the left, Ambrose on the right. I guess Darren Ambrose had a spell there.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
And I want to get your opinion. Danny Sonner is in there.
Yeah, that's okay. That's good.
Lee Bowyer, are you
Not happy about that at all. I'm really not happy. I don't like Lee Bowyer at all. He summed up a lot of the worst of the Jewel era. He really did. It was just something. Oh, I remember we played Reading. We lost 1-0 there, and he was more interested in winding up the Reading fans, even though I just don't know. I mean, particularly when you've got somebody as talented as Gorain and Daw on the bench.
I was going to say, if you want to swap an enforcer in, let's go for it.
Yeah, let's get in Daw back in. I loved him. I've never seen a player slow a game down so much. I loved him to bits, but he was really, tempo. He took it down to grave in musical terms. He really did. It was really, it was very, very slow. There's a couple of other guys who I don't know about. There's Stephen Gleeson, who I do remember. He's now at Aberdeen, interestingly. We have him as an option. And then there's two guys, Emma Hughes and Tom Adeyemi. I don't remember them. And then there's also a winger, Louis Donowa, actually, who are
80s, 90s, yeah.
That's right, he was. Yeah, he was around. He one season with us. I think he spent longer at Birmingham. Loads of strikers. We've got Marcus Bent and
obviously.
Darrell has made a plea, and I think we'll allow this plea. He's asked for Nigel Gleghorn to be in the starting team, even though we'll run through the others in a minute, because there are.
I'm looking at Ben's face there. That's similar to mine, I think.
Taking it all in.
Gleghorn was included, he said, because of his Birmingham achievements and precisely what we needed this year. He got them promoted into the Championship, or League One as it was, or whatever they called it at the time, in 91-92, and they won the Football League trophy as well, beating Shrewsbury. So, can we cut him that one?
Fuck. A cut? You want a cut?
No. Do you want to cut him out? Or do you want to keep him in?
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant.
Well, I'd cut him some slack on that one. I'd cut him some slack.
I'll give Darrell credit as long as we can stick in one of Stern John, DJ Campbell, or Keith Bertrand's a good shout for the for Dave and stuff.
Well, actually,
But I'd also give a shout out for Steve Whitten for Craig Fimbo. Otherwise, I'll get shot. So
Good
plenty
point.
of options there.
Yes, it did. The other one real blast in the past was a guy called Jackie Brown. Well, I looked this guy up. He played for Birmingham between 38 and 43. He played for Birmingham, and then he played for Ipswich between 48 and 51. He played for both Irish representative teams, ex-Belfast Celtic player, and there's no argument about this. He was a winger. I'm certain of that. And wingers back in the 40s had exactly the same role, mind you, apart from cutting in, as wingers do in the modern game. So he's another option. But it's a good team. No defenders, but loads of attacking options. Now, I mean, you have Chris Wood, DJ Campbell, Stern John. There's no shortage of attacking options as well.
Ben, give us your thoughts on that.
I bow to your guys' superior knowledge on this. If it's not in between 1995 and 2002, I am no help whatsoever.
You having DJ Campbell up front or Stern John?
I saw Stern John's debut for Nottingham Forest when Matt Holland scored the only goal in 99-2000.
He was great on Championship Manager 97-98, I think.
Up front with Dwight York for Trinidad, yeah? That's all I've got to add. It's no help at all, is it? I do apologise.
And that is why we get the big guns on the preview show.
Absolutely.
Thank you for Darrell for that. I'm sure he'll read it.
Well done, Darrell.
Yeah, exactly right.
Thanks,
let's do some questions. Let's finish on some. I didn't mention this after Brentford, but there was Twitter tends to do. There was a bit of a fissure, if that's the right word, or a fracture again with people calling out Evans and people calling out Lambert yesterday. I think possibly as this kind of relegation comes closer into view, I think people start getting a little bit more tetchy about it meaning something, because this club Ipswich haven't been third tier for over 60 years, I think it is. And the fact that probably there's a bit of gallows humour last night, people might possibly need reminding that whilst Ipswich had been a Championship club for 17, 18 odd seasons in a row, there was a club of stature, and this should be something that we're a bit embarrassed and should be disappointed about, want to avoid. So there's probably a bit of flavour in that in the questions, but interesting to get your thoughts on that whilst I pick the first one. Any thoughts on your feeling about how relegation should have some symbolism, perhaps
as in how we should behave as supporters?
React to it, yeah. The questions will go into it as well.
I'm not really sure. I'm this kind of freedom of speech type hippie, so I believe that fans can, as long as it's not hateful or racist or sexist, I believe fans can chant what they like. I do admit sometimes the sarcastic chants, you're nothing special, we lose every week. But I think people have got the right, once they've bought their ticket, driven to Brentford on a Wednesday night, to chant what they like. My my answer would be, Rich, how should we behave? I don't really know.
And then we've talked about this
I'm not
before.
sure.
Yeah, as long as it's respectful, you can't tell other people how to think or how to behave, can you? So
no, quite enough outrage in the world in 2019.
Exactly right. There's bigger things to worry about. No, there's not. It's the most important thing. Harry, on that flavour, I'll just chip in part of Benjamin Airier's question here. 3 lessons, maybe one from each of you rather than 3, because we'll try and skip through as many as we can. Have we learned from this season's campaign, or we hope that we've learned from this season's campaign?
I've got 3 quick ones. Don't sell all your strikers or lose all your strikers plus your best defender in the same window.
Yeah, I'll have some of that.
I think that's a big tick on that one there. I think, and this is a hard one. I was going to say, think about how you do your footballing due diligence when recruiting a manager. It's easy. That's a lazy hindsight one to throw in. But again, I just wonder, did we knew, you could say Hurst ticked a lot of boxes, but did we actually drill into how it would translate in a footballing sense from League One up into the Championship? It's easy to say. And also, I think our pre-season, don't ever leave it till June, Mick was brilliant at planning pre-season. Mick always had pre-season ready by Easter. You could see him, he had the model set up, he knew what he was doing. Whereas this year it was such a reactive summer, it really was. So anyway, Ben, add to that.
Yeah, I'll just tack on to the last one. It's plan 18 months ahead. Just seems to be the key thing. And even if you say Mick had great pre-seasons, well, if you sell Murphy on August the 27th or whatever, there goes your pre-season. So it's about planning now. And I think people, whether they like Lambert or they don't, this is now our best chance in a lot of years to have a strategy in place for next season way ahead of time. And yes, we are clinging on to small things, but like you mentioned, Rich, when we see Dazelle, Bishop, Downs combined to play Quainer through, that is a one-off fleeting moment in a game. And I've watched Norwich and I've watched Leeds and I've watched Sheffield United, and they do that constantly through the game. And you could find 50 clips of them trying to do this combination to get somebody in. And sorry, I'm going off on a rant now. I feel myself getting louder and louder, Rich.
No, it's lots of little victories.
Planning,
you're right. Spot on.
Planning ahead so that when we are playing in October or whatever, the guys know what they're doing. They've been worked on it, and we're actually good at it on the pitch, because we've gone from one strategy under the previous manager with then horrible succession planning through. We've had to bomb out a manager who, some people think was terrible, some people think could have been good. We'll never know because it just failed so spectacularly. Now we're on to this one. Stick with it and plan 18 months ahead.
Great shout, and This is kind of, once the relegation is confirmed, it is pre-season. It is figuring out those
2 weeks ago, Rich.
It possibly did, and reading in anything to the results for the next month or so, I think is a foolish exercise. So, I agree with all of that stuff, guys. Really good. Let's see if we can keep these a bit briefer, because I want to do as many as I can. Jack Slada, one player from any other Championship team who would have turned our season around. I gave some limitations on this answer, but I'm gonna let you go for whoever you want now, guys. One each.
One player would not turn this team around, but it would be Martin Waghorn.
Martin Waghorn. Don't say David McGoldrick, Harry. No, you can't.
No. I was looking at I actually said we need a striker. Obviously, I looked through the list of the leading strikers in the league. I was thinking, of course, I'm brokenhearted about Webster. That's the one that angers me, to be honest. But the strikers, that's on the defensive side. But Billy Sharp, Tammy Abraham, Bradley Dack, any of those 3, I think if we'd put those in, they could have possibly, it's that thing of getting you 10 yards further up the pitch. I think they would be the 3. You could pick any of them, though, to be honest.
Just quickly, Rich, sorry. And that's exactly what happened last year. Our XG, we should have finished 22nd last year, but we had 4 good forwards.
Yeah.
And a good goalie.
Going back to the kind of what we were debating, I was trying to find this question, I couldn't find it. It's from Stat, and why are we happy clapping our way to relegation stats question? Where's the outrage? I guess, Harry, we've talked about this before, and I've probably got quite strong views about negative things bring negative, negative equals negative. Is there much point in us getting...
What's happy clapping? Sorry.
I think it's the gallows humour, the shoes up if we're, from Brentford last night. I think people probably reading into the kind of atmosphere last night that people are downplaying or ignoring the fact that this is the worst season possibly in our club's recent, long medium-term history.
I think we need to credit the people in the away end with a bit more intelligence than happy clapping, Rich. I think a lot of them are very, very aware of the situation and they're just trying to make the best of. I mean, what do we chant? Do we turn our backs? What else do we do? I don't know.
And how are your thoughts on whether we should be responding a little bit more negatively or more aggressively towards Evans or Lambert?
No, it's a good question. I can live with it. I can live with us being like this. We all know, and it's not right in a game. It can be corrosive. The players, to me, are the innocent bystanders in what's happened. And if you're starting to if you're starting to fling negative energy out during the course of a game, the players will pick up on that. They should be spared that, to me, because I don't think, to me, this is on them. It's on wider circumstances. And if you want, the other reason why I can live with the happy clapping, I remember going on Blackpool's forum in 2015 when they got relegated out of the Championship, and believe me, this is far better, even if it's not ideal. We're not being willfully ignorant about what's going on. I think we were in trouble going back as far as losing to Peterborough 7-1 all those years ago. I think the structural flaws that were in place led to this inevitable conclusion where we are now, and so. You've got to see. That's how I would see our decline. I would see it in that wider context.
Thoughts again? Stuff that's commented on Twitter again is probably next season's the time to get angry at Evans and Lambert if October, November the season hasn't started well. Do you have any fears, either of you, of this is not this? This is the beginning of the slide rather than the end of it.
Don't know. It depends what he spends, Rich. If he cuts right back to $2,000 a week per players, then. We might finish in mid-table. But if he spends, we've seen the evidence. Wigan and Blackburn spend $8,000 a week on average on their players, and straight back through they came up. Evans, when Evans took over, Rich, he was in a position to make a difference financially in the Championship, and then the Premier League just went even further away. Maybe Evans, in terms of his muscle. He's muscular in League One, whereas he's not in the the Championship. Right. Yeah. So maybe he'll flex his muscle. And I hate to say it, maybe that might have to be a bit of a new level until we have a real good team out on the pitch that can go into the Championship and make a challenge. And one more point, Sheffield United got everything sorted out down there. They got back to sensible contracts. They got players in who are experienced. They built a team. And then when they did come into the Championship, they came with a balance sheet that looked a lot better rather than scraping and clawing in the absence of finding that 15, 20 million quid player that you have to sell to compete with the parachute teams.
Yep. That was a really useful chat, guys. I know that we're kind of drifting off the questions there, but a lot of this stuff has kind of been said on Twitter, and it's useful to kind of air that and get your views. Harry, our mate Mullet asks, how and where do you see the improvements under Lambert that are much mooted? Again, this kind of flavour that last night maybe exposed some of our limitations, or that maybe he's not the Messiah after all. What's he done in his time, in your opinion, right or wrong or indifferent? And he also asks, if you had a tattoo of one RTFC player's name on your ass, who would it be? Daniel Carbassian, obviously. Harry, thoughts of Lambert's improvements? I mean,
Ben put his finger on it just a second ago, that there are green shoots, those little bits of connectivity you're seeing, both within departments. You see it in midfield, you're seeing it even more between. When Vince and I went to watch the Bristol City game, he drew the immediate contrast between the football under Lambert and the football under Mick, where Whereas with Mick it was very departmental, whereas under Lambert it was all much more fluid. It was connected. There was more connected. There was a greater awareness. We're only seeing green shoots of it at the moment, like the little 3-pass move, setting up Quainer the other night. But those green shoots are definitely there, and that is therefore leading to an identity coming through in terms of how we're playing. But you have to allow for the fact that the lack of quality in this squad compared to who we're playing every week at the moment is palpable. This is one of the weakest playing squads we've had, certainly that I can remember, and but we are still playing with some positivity. We're playing with personality. I think Brentford on Wednesday, I don't think in the second half I don't think they necessarily switched off all that much. I do think we came at them a little. It was a bit of both. We did come at them in the second half and showed some good personality. Started winning set pieces. Started just forcing the game a little bit back on them, and that is something. When you contrast that with the abject fatalism of the game we watched together when we went up to the Leeds away, and you can see where we are now. There's certainly something over that 6-month period. You can see something coming back. I've never had a tattoo in my life on the other question, but I just wrote down here, it's a good job we signed Alan Judge instead of Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink. I said the poor sod wouldn't be able to sit down for a month. But
can I quickly chip in, Rich? And my words are probably wasted asking football supporters not to speak in an emotional and binary way. Paul Lambert is not the Messiah, and he's not a fraud. The truth lies somewhere in between. Yeah. But people seem to be, content to. I don't know who said he's the Messiah. Yeah, exactly. So
it was my words.
The truth lies somewhere in between there, but people need to maybe be a bit more mild. And although I agree with Harry, what were they expecting? You could have put Alex Ferguson in there with no transfer window. All the strikers from a team that should have finished 22nd on XG last year sold, and the goalkeeper, the other good players, gone off a cliff. But,
Yep. I think we're all agreed on that one. Any tattoo that you get, Ben?
I've got a tattoo of a piano keyboard on my arm.
That's highbrow. I love that. No football games.
No. But
Glenn Pennyfather. No. I'm just trying to find the long ones now.
Yeah, Pennyfather. There we go. Fine.
Ben, almost every team that gets promoted from League One as a striker is class above the division and scores a hatful of goals. We have no one like that. This is from a new era, Ipswich John. Will Evans, and this is your question, I guess, will Evans invest enough to allow Lambert to sign that 20 plus a season player we need? Is that the one thing we're missing, do you think? And do you think Evans will fund it?
It's pattern of play. You can put Billy Sharp up front. If you don't create any chances for him and you don't have a coherent pattern of play. We've gone from playing the channels, playing very defensively to a big forward. Hurst tried to do what Hurst tried to do and then changed his mind 10 times. Lambert came in, tried to split the centre halves, and I love Luke Chambers and I love Cole Skews and Jonas Nilsson. He tried to do this and they couldn't do it. They couldn't do what he was asking. So we've gone back to whatever mould we're doing now. There seems to be an attempt to play with a back four, not play long, try and get fullbacks up the pitch, play with intensity and press in that way. Be great. Who's to say that the striker's not already in the building who can score the goals if he's put into a pattern of play that works?
Yep, great shout. And to supplement that very quickly, Arthur Pickthorne and actually Brad Archer kind of asks about the back line as well. He asks, Arthur asks, is it a straight shootout between NCR and Wolfwinden, who we've probably forgotten about, to partner Chambers next season, or we need a new signing there?
What division are Swindon in? Are they in the League One or League 2?
League 2.
Oh, League 2. Okay. Sorry, go ahead, Harry. Go on.
I don't know. Normally you say 4 centre backs. I mean, Collins intrigues me as to whether he'll stay. I don't know. You've got Collins. You see, I think you could argue that Collins is. You've almost got 4.5 centre backs if you have 5 of them. In that you can use a bit of Collins and you can use a bit of Wolfenden. You could possibly use a bit of Ndaba as well as Chambers and Nsiala. So because you need to have 4. And that's not a cop out of an answer, because you cannot play Collins every week if you just want to stay with us. You've got to find a way around that, because he won't. We're going to not just have the league games. We've got the Football League trophy. We've got all sorts of we've got games coming out of our ears.
Times, Harry. No international breaks.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's really Rich. Sorry, you were at Accrington, weren't you, Rich? and I've read Neil Warnock's book. If you ask Toto Inciala, head it, kick it, and the game is remotely stretched, he's a very good defender.
Yeah.
If you ask him to be Rio Ferdinand, he's not. But don't underestimate Toto in League One.
Nope.
Yeah.
James Mealing, I need to mention James Mealing. Harry, you might recall this question we got asked maybe about 4 months ago from James. It's going to hurt, isn't it, to be relegated? James Mealing has got back in touch. It's going to happen on Saturday, isn't it? I'm not ready. And then we've got sad-faced emojis. James, don't worry. It's only football. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I've written down here yes, and it would be good to get it out of the way. I was shocked, I have to say, when I went on Twitter. I've been sort of prepping up and writing up on the TWTD stuff all day, so I wasn't really on Twitter until around sort of 4 o'clock. And we're doing this Thursday evening, on Thursday afternoon, and I was quite taken aback by the strength of feeling. I think Brentford was almost like it was a bit of an emetic. I think people have just felt, here we go, this is it. But I think
have done that to better teams than us.
Oh no, I agree. Yeah, as I say, but I think it'll be good to get it out of the way, and then we can all then properly focus. Just get this off the desk, really. Yeah.
Dennis Sullivan, our mate Solly, who we met at the live show back in February. Are we convinced that Flynn Downs is the future? So many basic mistakes. He's committed for sure, but so prone to mistakes. Misses simple passes on a fairly regular basis. Thoughts on Flynn Downs, Harry?
I like him. I think Flynn Downs is going to be an increasingly important player next season. He had that error last night, and there was something about Brentford, the way they pounced on him. There's a famous clip in the '74 World Cup of the Dutch, a poor, unfortunate Uruguayan midfielder with the ball in the group stages, and there were suddenly 5 Dutch players on top of him. He was just mobbed for the ball, and then off he went. Brentford were doing that, and it was just unfortunate that they got inside our head. So I would cut him some slack on what happened. But I think his reading of the game, his positioning, his willingness to get stuck in more often than not compensates for the odd error that you're going to get. And his feisty side, when it's controlled, is actually something we don't have a lot of in the team. I have a feeling we're going to see Downs grow into League One next year. That's my take.
Same thought with Enciala, maybe.
I felt for him last night. I really did. But it would not just take that out. Brentford, as Ben's just said, Brentford are not the benchmark for anything. They really aren't.
Can I just ask you both a question? Do you see Lambert at any point doing what Mowbray did with Bradley Dack? He likes a back 4. He played a midfield 4. Do you think we'll see a 4-4-1-1 with Judge in the 10 position ever, Rich?
I like that. I like that. Someone has mooted that as well. I think Craig mooted that as well. He didn't like. Judge hasn't got the discipline or doesn't seem to be told to stay in one position when he's played out wide. So maybe that'll work. I like that.
I like it too. We might need more quality out wide though to do that.
Yeah.
That's the question mark I'd have.
Yeah.
But totally.
A couple more bits and pieces because we are running on, but it's all good stuff. John Merrill, who I think is a blue nose. He's a blue.
I know John, yeah.
Don't worry, as we beat Leeds and drew with Sheffield United, we'll be on hand to perform our typical Blues result against you on Saturday. John, don't be so miserable. Come on, you'll beat us, no problem at all.
Yeah,
and thank you for listening as well. Thank you for tweeting in. Andy Grimes, Ben, the kind of converse of what we talked about, how much do you think the positivity of the Ipswich fans has contributed to our ability to persuade players to sign new contracts, or the likes of Judge to sign? If the atmosphere had been more toxic, would we have seen a mutiny at the end of the season?
It won't do any harm, will it? We've gone from the fans refusing to chant the manager's name. And I used to watch Mick, and Mick's a good football manager, but I used to watch him walk out, and he would not look at the Ipswich fans as he walked from the dugout. So we've gone from a manager refusing to look at the fans and the fans refusing to chant the name to the fans constantly chanting Lambert's name. And are they happy clappers or whatever they're supposed to be, or were the other ones hounded out McCarthy or whatever? It can't do any harm, but I'm at a bit of a loss with this negativity towards the fans, as you can see. Harry said the players are innocent bystanders. I think a lot of the fans are innocent bystanders as well. A lot. I didn't say all of
them. Two more bits. Honestly, two more bits. One is it's just a shout out because there's a new account, Ipswich Town Brazil. I don't know if these guys are actually in Brazil or they're called Brazil. I don't know, but shout out. They've asked us a question about the biggest mistake in the season. I would heartily recommend you watch my top 10 sliding doors moments. And number 10 or number 9, I can't remember. Also,
favourite Brazilian player, Rich?
I like the old Ronaldo.
Oh, right. That's that discussion over. Then carry on.
Sorry, Rivaldo would have been there until the World Cup lead took that dive. That's, they ask us about biggest mistakes and all that kind of stuff. But I just wanted to give a shout out, give them a follow. Ipswich Town at Ipswich Town BR, a new account there. Give those a go. And Ben, I think there's spoiler alert. We're thinking some videos maybe for maybe next few weeks or end of the season to kind of go back
Favorite
through.
Brazilians, yeah.
We'll do that. Top 10 favorite. Well, easy now. Let's end it on something light. I'm trying to find the question now and I can't find it. Oh, blimmin' hell. It's about shirts. There we go. James Golk, my Warwickshire alumni mate. James Golk, 2-part question. What are your top 3 town shirts? I think 2 of them are up here, to be honest. More importantly, are white sleeves proper ITFC? Again, the 2 shirts I've got behind me, no white sleeves, but are you white sleeves people thinking of the red lace one?
I'll bow out of the white sleeves conversation, but the best Ipswich shirt, as worn by Kevin Beattie at Villa Park in the Cup replay, is the white Adidas.
Yeah.
Classy.
Without sounding too contrary, that you'd struggle to convince me otherwise. But white sleeves, I'll bow to you.
No, I'm not got a strong opinion on that. In terms of away kits, I go for the red and black striped Inter Milan one. Harry, favourite home and away kits of white shirts?
I like white and black as an away kit. To be fair, that's got certain memories. The Adidas shirts, as I say, the Kevin Beattie shirts, then the Adidas shirts of the late '80s, and then the one that's behind you from our playoff season. I loved that shirt. I absolutely loved it.
It's 2 playoff seasons,
yes, the one to your to the 2014-15 playoff season. I adored that shirt. I recognise the white sleeves have historical significance. So I think when the Cobbles wanted us to be blue, there was the Arsenal connection, so we were the kind of blue with white sleeves as opposed to the red with white sleeves of Arsenal. I remember reading that in one of my books.
Well, Arsenal only have white sleeves because they nicked Nottingham Forest shirts. They played a fixture against Nottingham Forest and didn't bring their kit. They wore Nottingham Forest shirts and they ripped the sleeves off to be able to differentiate themselves. And that's why Arsenal wear red.
They could never be blue. They could never be blue. Who's that? Beautiful South.
I mean,
Mungo Jerry.
This is why we don't invite him on the show.
Do we have music like this on the?
No, this is the highbrow show. I want some Sibelius or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
That's Graham Blackburn's.
I was the other final point on shirts. I do think, and there's nothing rational about this. I think that this season's hideous mess of a shirt did play a part in our relegation.
Absolutely, that will be in the top 10 reasons why.
God, I hate that shirt.
But Harry, you know you're damaging your credibility when you start a sentence with "There's nothing irrational about this."
There's nothing irrational about this.
It's not about the money, but it's all about the money.
There's others there, but I'm not going to go that way. What I will end with is a plea for the shirt for next season, which is don't put the blooming coloured background on the Magic Vegas logo. Just put the words in black and white text. Don't muck about. Don't spoil it. Anyway, ran over. Gentlemen, that's been really good fun. We're at 1 hour, 26 minutes. So if you have made it all the way through to the end, God bless you. I think it's been fun, though. Should we end with some plugs? Harry, tell us where we can find your blogs and Twitter.
The match, the TWTD match preview goes up lunchtime on Friday, and you can find it on @HarryFromBath, which is my Twitter handle.
Brilliant stuff. Ben, you've got so much stuff going on. Where you are back for the flagship this week? Or
no, I am at my good lady's grandma's 90th birthday party on Saturday.
Brilliant.
So
Fantastic.
I will be receiving abuse for not going to the Ipswich game. And then on Sunday I will be receiving even more abuse because I will be at Wigan versus Norwich. Just the way these things work out. It's the only game I could get to this weekend. Mikey will be on the flagship show, I assume. I've booked the other 2 people. Are you on it, Rich? I can't.
No, I'm not going this week.
I assume I've booked the other 2
I'm not going
people.
either. A weekend off.
I will be doing my championship live stream, which is really good fun. You can actually comment during the video on YouTube, and I try and interact, and then people tell me off for speaking too slow while I'm reading a script, watching a screen, and replying to comments at the same time. What we're saying is be nice on social media, especially to lovely people like Richard and Harry who make all this wonderful content for you that you can check out at Blue Monday ITFC.
He's done the plugs for me. This is brilliant stuff, Harry. I don't even have to do anything.
It's
fantastic. It's like every week.
Total pro.
Every week. Well, yeah, so you can find the channel at Blue Monday RTC and YouTube, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. Some really cracking stuff on there. There's a really good This Week in ITFC History if you haven't listened to that yet from last week, I think, and there's probably a new one next week as well. I've got a video in the works, another top 10 video. There's loads of stuff. We've got big plans for the summer. Oh, ignore the football. Just listen to our stuff. It's all good. You can find me at Ipswich, and we will be back, I think, Harry, next week to talk about Swansea and Preston.
Swansea. Yep, indeed.
And then I'll be hosting the flagship after,
which is going to be
Swansea.
After the bank holiday.
Yeah, we'll do a tweet or something. I'll do a video about it. But really enjoyed that, gentlemen. Ben, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your wisdom on
pleasure.
Everything.
And, I know I run this podcast, but on behalf of all the listeners, this show has been absolutely brilliant all year. So thanks to you two.
Oh, God
Thanks,
bless you.
Ben. That's very
Harry,
kind.
thank you for your kind research as well, and have a great weekend. And
Yep.
we'll speak to each other next week.
Yeah. All the best. Bye bye.